Kissimmee is here and gone. Congratulations to EvoVamp on the win. Let's go ahead and dive in to our first look at the Lifestream meta and see what you should be prepared for in upcoming webcam tournaments. Starting by looking at the most used cards from Kissimmee, it has arrived. The world of main deck P-Box is in fact here. Congratulations, we made it, It's being played as much as Whale and Rabbit. Whoever thought we would see this day? What's not surprising is that Madness is a top used card. The Daze and Enraged mechanic are something you need to familiarize yourself with. It creates interesting game states where you can go a Daze into an Enrage. The opponent tries to stop you with a Daze, you enrage yourself to do the attack anyway. There is a whole new mini game you have to understand. What's rising from the ashes as well is the number of these limited cards we're seeing. Hurricane and Rise usage did drop when they got hit to 1, but they are back with a vengeance now. And foreshadowing what we're going to see when we review the decks, the Fish and the Dionysus's packages are in the top usage. In the side, you are seeing lots of Spoiled Fruit. Spoiled Fruit used to be a way to stop heal stall. Now it is a way to stop lots of opponents' plays. A number of these new powerful cards have heal effects on them. Locagon heals, of course. Thunderstorm Superdome heals, of course. Spoiled Fruit is now a more versatile way to stop your opponent in their tracks. The thing that is showing up in sides that you really need to pay attention to is Helio's Chariot Ride. You need to be prepared to get hit by a flying chariot. Okay, what does Chariot do? In the draw phase, you play it, and then your opponent can't play runes that turn. You can Chariot a Chariot. So the best counterplay to Chariot is to also be on Chariot. I'm going to be so real. I think you just need to find 2 slots in your side deck to play Chariot Ride. You need to take a little time to wrap your head around it and understand its use cases. You can use it either offensively or defensively. Offensively, you can use it at the start of your turn when you're going to make a big play so your opponent can't stop it. Defensively, if you've established a board and you want your opponent to not be able to do anything about it, you can use it at the start of their turn. The Chariot Ride minigame is real. Please ban this card, and until it's gone, you probably just need to have it in your side deck or have a mental game plan on how you're going to deal with it. Looking at the top decks, it is filled with Lifestream goodies. Frost did return with a vengeance to get second, but of course, shout out to EvoVamp for taking it with Fish, the Aetheros and Locagon package. The other thing that was all over the top was Solar. Solar is super scary. They're sending Celestlio to the underworld and they're rising from the ashes or on occasion, they are just Leo brighting it and getting a Celestlio out. Celestlio is not like someone in Australia, Cobalt, did something kind of fun and dropped a Celestlio. You are going to see a Celestlio. If you are taking a deck to a upcoming tournament, you need to have a game plan for what you do when Celestlio hits the board. Otherwise, you are going to be auto-scooping against every Solar player. Celestlio is real, and you need to have a game plan for it. Of course, Dio is all over the place like we already saw from the top used cards. You need to have your head wrapped around the Daze and Enraged mechanics and the various pivots Dio can do off of it. Obviously, Cyprong is the easy one. You Daze the Cyprong and then you pop a big dude. A 1-drop or a 2-drop with a 5 stat. You can also have a Enraged Drataya go into Latagon, which then immediately pops a back row mini Equilink style. So you need to be prepared for these kind of interesting strategies that Dio will be bringing to the field with him. You also need to be prepared for the variants of Frosts that are showing up, either Frost Mill with the new Frost Mill support, or Frost Good Stuff featuring Chimera, which now allows the Frost player to draw a card and put 2 bodies on the field. In old Elestrals, before Lifestream, you kind of assumed your opponent was only putting one body on the board turn one. So like a single shield usually protected you. This is not true anymore. You should expect in your deck building and in your thinking that a Magnaros and an Aetheros are going to hit the board turn one, that a Chimera and a Lycan are going to hit the board turn one. You need to be prepared for the inevitability that your opponent is going to get two bodies on the board turn one. And if your deck folds to that, you need some strategy improving. All right, now we're going to head over to Swiss to see a little more in depth some of the various things that are showing up. In Aphrodite, two main strategies showed up. There was the Aetheros focused strategy championed by Bo, where you really focus on the Aetheros. The Lockagons are a bonus. We can see here we're only on one of each of the Lockagon, but we are jamming literally everything named Aetheros as much as possible. The more common variant is the Lockagon variant, where you are on a package of Aetheros, but you're playing two each of the different Lockagons. If you are playing against a water deck, you need to be mentally prepared for their ability to get a Lockagon easily. If they're playing Tadpuff, they can go Tadpuff into Lockagon right away. If they go Magnaros, Aetheros, you might clear an Aetheros, but then they can drop Aphrodite, Special, and Aetheros, and then still go Lockagon. So you need to kind of have a plan for the special casts that are going to storm out to the field when you are playing against Aphrodite. If you are playing Lockagon yourself, you need to be mentally prepared for Spoiled Fruit. As we saw, Spoiled Fruit was one of the top side deck options. So you don't want to heal willy-nilly with Lockagon. You really want to be careful about when you do it. Unless you're really low on spirits, or unless you have an OG Lockagon and you need the pop, Spoiled Fruiting is just a way you're going to lose your own Lockagon. If you do not have a line to recovery for that to happen. Like we already alluded to, there is Frost Mill and Frost Good Stuff. One of the things you really need to be aware of when going against Frost now is that Whiteout exists. They might be searching this off of Brummelink, so you'll see it when it happens. The Whiteout lets you negate something that targeted one of your Frost Elestrals, which includes things like Gorgon's Gaze. The problem is it does not include Novacore and Celestlio and the like. The solar effects are non-targeting. We'll get into that more momentarily, but if you are going in on Frost, don't think Whiteout is going to protect you from everything, because solar will still pop you. If you are playing against a Frost deck, you need to be careful about Whiteout. Don't put all of your eggs in a targeting basket. Sometimes you just have to hope they don't have it. If you're not in a position where you don't have to do that, if you're not about to lose the game anyway, save your targeting effects if you think or know they have a Whiteout because you saw the search, until you can maybe bait the Whiteout or do something else with it. I already went on a rant about how you have to be prepared for Celestlio, but you need to be mentally prepared in general for what is coming with Solar. And what is coming with Solar is non-targeting pops with a consistency we've never seen before. Novacore doesn't target, Solar Burst doesn't target, Celestlio doesn't target. They will not target you, and they will remove your board. Obviously, there are some ways you can get around this. You can do things like P-Box a Glimbat, P-Box a Winjin. You cannot P-Box a number of things. Obviously, you cannot P-Box Solar Burst and the like. But one really funny strategy that actually works well against Solar is Antitan. Shout out to Sunflower, who did an excellent job piloting Antitan into the top 16. Antitan, of course, if you have a bug on field, is actually unaffected by opponent's Elestrals effects, allowing it to avoid a lot of the pops. Another fun tech is that Solar Burst does not work on Solar Enchanted Elestrals. So if you want to play a extra Solar Spirit to be able to protect a key piece of your strategy, that is one way to play around it. Royalotl also, of course, showed up. You need to be mentally prepared for how you deal with a Royalotl. So the thing about Royalotl is you simply don't attack. The problem is if you aren't going to attack to avoid triggering the Royalotl, you need to have a game plan on how you're eventually going to remove it. Obviously, if you have something like a poison tipped arrow already set, you can just deal with it. Cryoblast gets Royalotl, Enraged gets Royalotl, you get it to attack itself. You should likely be playing some kind of option to get around Royalotl, Suppression, Cryoblast, Enragement, etc. But do not just attack into it and give the solar player free foretells and extra cards to hand. You will have a bad time if you do that. Obviously, Dio was everywhere as well. The three things you need to be prepared for with that, like I've talked about before, is the Day's Enraged minigame and all of the things Dio can do off of that. One of them being Drataya. You enrage Drataya, it goes to Latagon, it pops a back row. The other option, which was not as popular but did show up, was Say Timber. So if we look at a deck like this with Say Timber in it, Say Timber is very interesting because when an enraged Celestial attacks, it gets sent back to the hand. So it's kind of like a built-in shield. It itself can enrage the turn it comes down, and obviously you can use Dio to enrage things. So you can be playing your own Dionysus's Madness to combat the effects that Dio gives when it puts these statuses on Elestrals, or you can simply be playing a deck that outvalues it like Solar. I said it once, I'll say it again. You need to be playing and prepared for Helios Chariot Ride. Helios Chariot Ride is everywhere. There are so few decks that did not play Helios Chariot Ride. It's freaking everywhere. You gotta be if you refuse to play it, that's fine. Good on you. Just be mentally prepared for its existence and know that it's something you have to plan around. There are a number of decks that did not show up strongly, but we will talk about. Theraheart Control, for example, is a deck that had a lot of whispers around it. It really bubbled out here. But the big thing to remember about Theraheart Control, if you run into a Lunar player, is that Theraheart gets to add a Lunar rune every turn. So if they have a set Rise from the Shadows, you out the Theraheart once, they will rise it back, and then on their next turn simply add another Rise from the Shadows, so you may want to avoid playing into that. The new Ampup package is a popular pick in Thunder piles and Good Stuff piles. People have mostly decided that Old Like a Volt is best like a Volt. If you do the whole Ampup line, you will have a minimum of 3 in Underworld, which is going to give this a 6 attack stat boost, which will make it a 12. When it destroys something, you get to Old Spark It style, look at the opponent's hand and rip something from it. If you have room in your side deck, something people have been playing to combat this is, of course, Glimbat. Originally printed as anti-Spark It support that never got to see the light of day because it was banned, Glimbat can actually help you in this situation. You don't even need to be playing Solar Spirits in your Spirit deck at all. Simply, you can discard this card when an effect would force you to discard and negate and destroy that card. So a good option to get a Thunder player. I would not say this is so important that you must put it in your side deck, but if you have 2 slots left, it is a good thing to put in those extra 2 slots. One of the reason it is a good thing to put in those 2 slots is a card that showed up way more than expected is Dionysus's Chalice, Poison Nectar, which when Dio is on field, burns you for 2 and forces you to discard a card. So you now have to worry about Earth Burn the same way you worry about Eruption Burn when you see fire. Way more people were on this card than I expected. It is a way to just get an opponent who is not expecting you to burn them. 2 spirits and losing a card is tragic, and again, Glimbat is a way you can negate this and circumvent the effect. Bear Bomb basically fell off the map. No one was playing really kind of pure Bear Bomb. There were a lot of bear pile mixes trying to work with some of the new Frost Bear support. I think this is because people who could go out to Kissimmee were also going in on the new cards heavily. I do expect in webcam tournaments we will see people who haven't gone as hard in on Lifestream cards simply rolling out their Bear Bomb deck again, because it is still a good deck while it did not receive any support. That does mean you can just roll it out as is. So do not forget your bear pairing knowledge from Firestorm. Speaking of things not to forget, do not forget cards like Zeus and Demeter existed. Zeus is showing up a lot more. due to the thunder piles that are being encouraged by thunderstorm decks. So I do expect we will see more of the base set terror that is Zeus giving you -3. You should also be prepared for this because Artemis's Arrow, which is like a mini Zeus that also suppresses from a invoke rune, showed up way more than I expected, honestly. I was expecting people to pass on this card largely, but it showed up in a fair number of decks at the event. Overall, I think Kissimmee was a really interesting showing of the new meta for Elestrals. I really like how it turned out, and I'm really excited to play in this meta more myself. I hope you do well at any events you are going to be participating in here for Lifestream. Leave a comment below about what decks you're excited to see the performance of in this meta. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll like this one over here. If you watched all the way to the end, consider liking and subscribing, and I hope you have a wonderful time clashing my fellow casters. I'll see you in the next one.